You think you're living your life. You're not. You're reacting to it. From the moment you wake up, before your mind is even clear, before your body fully activates, something takes over. You reach for your phone, not because you decided to, because it's automatic. A learned behavior, a trigger. Your hand moves before your awareness catches up. You open something, scroll, consume, react. And just like that, your mind is no longer yours. It's already occupied, filled, directed by something external. And this happens every single day. Not just with your phone, with everything. Your emotions, your focus, your actions, your decisions. They don't start with you. They start with triggers. Something happens, and you respond instantly, automatically, without thinking, without choosing. That's not living, that's reacting. And most people never notice the difference because it feels normal. It feels like, this is just how I am. But it's not who you are. It's what has been conditioned. Your brain is designed to save energy, to avoid unnecessary thinking. So it builds shortcuts, fast pathways, automatic responses, stimulus, reaction, again and again and again, until it becomes default. You don't need to think anymore. You just react. Someone looks at you a certain way. You feel something. Someone says something. You respond instantly. You see something online. Your mood shifts. You compare. You judge. You react. Without ever stopping to ask, did I choose this? Because you didn't. Your brain did. Based on patterns, based on past experiences, based on emotional memory, your nervous system has been trained over years to respond in specific ways. And now, those responses run automatically, without your permission, without your awareness. That's why you feel out of control sometimes. Because you are, not consciously, but neurologically. Your brain fires before you think. Your body reacts before you decide. Your emotions activate before you understand. And by the time you become aware, the reaction is already in motion. That's the loop. And it's fast. So fast. You mistake it for choice. But it's not choice. It's conditioning. Your brain has learned, when this happens, do this. And it executes it instantly. That's why you can't just change. That's why motivation doesn't last. That's why you keep falling back into the same behaviors. Because you're not dealing with decisions. You're dealing with patterns. And patterns don't respond to intention. They respond to repetition, reinforcement, emotion. Every time you react the same way, you strengthen the pathway. Every time you avoid discomfort, you deepen the loop. Every time you follow the same impulse, you make it automatic. And eventually, you don't even notice it anymore. It just becomes you. This is how I think. This is how I feel. This is just my personality. But it's not. It's repetition. Running so many times, it feels permanent. That's the trap. Because once something feels like identity, you stop questioning it. And the moment you stop questioning, it locks in. That's why people stay stuck. Not because they don't want change, but because they don't see the pattern. They see the result. They feel the emotion, but they don't see what caused it. They don't see the trigger. They don't see the loop. They don't see the automatic reaction happening underneath. They just experience it and assume it's real, assume it's them, assume it's truth. But it's not. It's a sequence, a predictable chain, trigger, reaction, reinforcement, again and again and again. That's autopilot. And autopilot feels comfortable because it requires no effort, no awareness, no resistance, but it comes at a cost. You lose control of your attention, you lose control of your emotions, you lose control of your behavior, and eventually, you lose control of your life. Not all at once. Slowly, subtly, over time, because every small reaction shapes the next one. Every moment you don't choose reinforces not choosing. And over time, that becomes your default state. Living without awareness, reacting without thinking, moving without direction, and calling it life. But it's not life. It's a loop, a controlled system, running in the background, guiding your actions, shaping your identity, without you even noticing. That's why you feel drained, because you're not directing your energy. You're responding to everything around you, constantly, without pause, without control. Your attention gets pulled, your emotions get triggered, your behavior follows, again and again and again. There's no space, no gap, no moment where you stop and say, wait, is this what I want? Because everything is happening too fast, too automatic, too conditioned. That's the danger. Not that you react, but that you don't realize you're reacting. Because once you realize it, everything changes. Not immediately, not easily, but fundamentally, because now you see the loop, you see the trigger, you see the reaction forming. And that moment, that tiny fraction of a second, becomes everything. Because that's where choice lives. Not before, not after. Right there. Between trigger and reaction, that's the only place where you can interrupt the system, where you can stop, where you can decide. But most people never reach that moment because they move too fast, they react too quickly, they stay inside the loop, and the loop stays in control. That's why slowing down is powerful. Not your life, your reactions. Because when you slow down the reaction, you expose the process, you see what's happening. You feel the urge, you notice the impulse before it turns into action. And that's where awareness begins. That's where control becomes possible. Not guaranteed, but possible. Because now, you're not just reacting, you're watching. And watching creates distance. Distance from the impulse, distance from the pattern, distance from the automatic response. And in that distance, you have space. And in that space, you can choose. For the first time. Not based on conditioning, not based on habit, but based on awareness. And that's the difference between reacting and living. Most people never make that shift. They stay in reaction mode their entire life, responding, following, repeating, without ever realizing they were never truly choosing. But the moment you see it, you can't go back. Because now, every reaction becomes visible, every impulse becomes noticeable, every automatic behavior becomes obvious. And that awareness changes everything. Because now, you're no longer fully controlled. You're starting to take it back. Slowly, moment by moment, reaction by reaction. And that's where real life begins. Not when everything changes around you, but when something changes within you. When you stop reacting and start choosing. That's the shift. And once it starts, it doesn't stop. Because awareness doesn't go backwards, only forward, deeper, clearer, stronger, until the system that used to control you becomes something you can finally see. And once you can see it, you can change it. And once you change it, you stop reacting and start living.